this video, we're going to learn to multiply decimals. We will be using standard algorithm to multiply our decimals today. So if we look at this problem, we have 14 and 3/10 times 5 and 1/10. So here's what we are going to do. We are going to multiply these as if they were whole numbers without decimals in them. So I am going to say 14 and 3/10 becomes 143. And then 5 and 1/10 becomes 51. Now, when we multiply these, I'm going to be doing some different colors to show you some different things here as we multiply. So we're going to start with this 1, and I turned it pink so you can see that everything that I do right now is going to be in pink, and it's going to be because I'm multiplying by the 1. So I'm going to do 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 4 is 4. And 1 times 1 is 1. So all I did is I multiplied that 1 by every digit in the top. Now I'm going to move on to my 5, and I'm going to do that in blue. Okay, but before we can do that, we are moving into the tens place. So when I move out of the ones place and move into the tens place, I have to add a 0 here so that I can correctly multiply 143 times 50 and not just times 5. Now, because multiplying 143 times 50 is a little bit more challenging, we add that 0 that I just did in green, and then now we just multiply by 5. So I say 5 times 3 is 15. 5 goes down. I carry my 1. 5 times 4 is 20 plus 1 is 21. 1 goes down. I carry my 2. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. Now, once I've multiplied that 5, that second digit, by every digit in the top, I can add these two numbers up. You get 0 plus 3 is 3, 4 plus 5 is 9, 1 plus 1 is 2, and 7 plus nothing is 7. So 7,293. Now we go back to this original problem and we say, okay, how many digits do I have? And when I say digits, is how many numbers do I have after my decimals here in the problem? So I have 1 here and 1 here. Well, 1 plus 1 is 2. So I have 2 digits after my decimal in the problem. So I have to start at the end of my number and count in 1, 2, and put my decimal. So my answer is 72 and 93 hundredths for this problem. So let's move on to the next one, and let's do the same thing using that strategy. Okay, so again, remember, I'm going to multiply these as if they were whole numbers. So 0 and 25 hundredths becomes 25. And 2 and 6/10 becomes 26. So I'm going to use those same colors again, just so you can see how I'm doing this. So we start with the 6. I'm going to multiply by every digit in the top. 6 times 5 is 30. So I carry my 3. 6 times 2 is 12, 13, 14, 15. Since I don't have any other numbers to carry it to, I just write it there. Now, one thing I like to do is I like to cross off the number in the ones place so I can really realize I'm moving to the tens place and I have to add that 0. Because we're really multiplying by 20 and not just 2. Another thing I like to do is I like to cross off any number in the top that I borrowed or, carried, so that you don't accidentally add it again. Now I'm going to do 2 times both the 5 and the 2. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Now I can add these up. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 5 is 5. And 1 plus 5 is 6. So 650. But I have to go back to my original problem and bring my decimal back in. So this time I have, here's my decimal. I have 2 digits in this number. And I have 1 here. So total, I have 1, 2, 3. So I start at the end of my problem and I count in 1, 2, 3, and I put my decimal. In a problem like this, I would probably add a 0 here just so we can easily see the decimal, but your answer is 0 and 650 thousandths for this problem. All right, the last problem we're going to do together is 3 and 8 tenths times 4 tenths. Okay, so remember I'm multiplying these like I would without my decimal in them, not meaning that I'm going to clear out my or erase my decimal. That was a misconception I was seeing, is people were just multiplying by 3. That's not what I meant when I said this. What I mean by without the decimal is I just erase those decimals from the problem. So I keep that 8 in there, but I just take this decimal out like that. So we're going to do 38 times 4. So I'm going to do 4 times 8 is 32. The 2 goes down and I carry my 3. 4 times 3 is 12, 13, 14, 15. You get 152. Almost said 352. Now, go back to our problem. We have to make sure that we are looking at our decimals and looking at all the digits after. Remember, I'm just counting digits. I'm not counting actual numbers. So like that first one would not be 8 digits. It's just 1. So 1, 2. So there's 2 digits after the decimal altogether. Start at my end and I count in 1, 2. For my decimal, my answer is 1 and 52 hundredths. Remember, when we are doing this, our first step is to multiply the numbers without the decimal point. That should say without, I apologize. Without the decimal point. Step 2 is to count the digits after the decimal in the problem. And then step 3 is add the decimal to the product or the answer at the end. So what you are going to do now is you are going to complete some IXL practice and some multiplying decimals practice. In order to take the retake, you have to get a 9 out of 10 on the multiplying decimals practice.